WrestleMania season is upon us, ladies and gentlemen, and that means there will be absolutely no shortage of news and rumors going into the major event happening at Tampa's Raymond James Stadium on April 10th and April 11th. I wish the same could be said about the excitement levels for said WrestleMania, but beggars can't be choosers. Now, what exactly is the new news and rumors coming out about WrestleMania 37? As we know, there will be fans in attendance. The number of fans inside that stadium remains to be a secret, but what we discussed is that WWE more than likely will watch what happens at the Super Bowl on February 7th and try to one-up the NFL. But what exactly is WWE thinking about the actual card on night 1 and night 2? How many major matches will WWE have on night 1 and night 2? Who will be challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship? Who will be challenging the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, for the Universal Championship? I don't know. You don't know. I don't know. The only one that knows is Vince McMahon, and all the plans that he has already thought of, he's keeping secret from everybody. Now, as we know, WrestleVotes tweeted out on Friday afternoon that John Cena and Bill Goldberg are confirmed for WrestleMania 37. What exactly does this mean? They also reported that Roman Reigns' opponent for WrestleMania is not exactly who you and I are thinking about. Daniel Bryan's not the name. Shinsuke Nakamura is not the guy. Then who exactly is it at WrestleMania 37? All of this wrapped up into one big ball, and it's making my skin crawl already. Also, Bruce Prichard gets the writing team a Christmas present that doesn't go over very well with Mr. Bruce. And Aleister Black, where the hell is he? I don't know. But apparently WWE has kept him off of television for one major specific reason. Could they be pushing the Aleister Black of old back on television? We don't know, but I got the exclusive right here on episode 361 of Off the Scripts.
Delete! This is mine.
Alive with it. People still
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for stopping by the channel again today. This is Off the Script, episode 361 for your Saturday, January 23, 2021. I am the IWC head of the table, the IWC Tribal Chief, JD from New York. And we have a lot to go over, man. We have a lot to go over today about Roman Reigns, WrestleMania, John Cena, Bill Goldberg, Drew McIntyre. Where does this mess, is the best way for me to put it, where does this mess end up at WrestleMania on April 10th and April 11th? Where does Bray Wyatt fit into all this? Where does Randy Orton fit into all this? Is Edge coming back? The fuck do I know? I don't know anything, man. I honestly think everything we've already discussed and everything that we fear, we just don't know. It's like we're venturing into uncharted territory here, man. WrestleMania is on April 10th, and not one solid plan is in place yet by these people. I don't know when these plans are gonna see the light of day. I could make an assumption, but I know if I was running the company, these plans would have already been planted on TV. Seeds would have been planted on TV, and we got nothing. We have gotten absolutely nothing. So we're going to talk about this today, man. It's going to be a big one. I got so much WrestleMania news in this one show that it's going to put all the other shows that I've done so far this year already to shame. So strap yourselves in, go grab a cold beverage. It's going to be a good one here on episode 361, man. Follow me on Twitter, at JD from NY206. That's where I usually reside during the week. I wish I didn't because it's a cesspool of garbage. Twitter, at JD from NY206. Same thing with Instagram, at JD from NY206. Make sure you guys go and hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications. Hit the thumbs up. Thumbs up is very important, man. I don't know what else to tell you. It's very important. It helps me out, helps you out, helps the channel out, helps the video out. It helps everybody out, man. And it's basically free. You guys want to know how to support the show? Support the channel? There you go. Thumbs up. That's all you got to do. And hit that subscribe button, like I said, with that bell turned on for all notifications. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys want to go and support via Patreon, you guys can go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. Links for all the appropriate playlists down below in the description of this very video. If you guys want to follow me and support me on Twitch, you guys can certainly do that as well. I'm over there 3-4 days a week on Twitch. Twitch.tv/JD from New York. Link is also down in the description below. Go get your masks. Mouthmasker.com/OTS for your off-the-script face coverings. Go and get your t-shirts. Bonfire.com is the exclusive home of JD from NY and all the appropriate merchandise for the show. And today's show is sponsored by the one and only Dr. Squatch. DrSquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off. You guys are going to save on literally everything that they offer on the website. Soaps, shampoos, deodorants, cologne, toothpaste, conditioners. You name it, man. You want to look your best? They got it. You want to feel your best? You want to smell your best? They got it. You're already listening to the best, so why not use the best? DrSquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. I want to thank them for supporting Off the Scripts. Nice and easy, man. Nice and easy. Let's get into it. We're going to start at the top, and I got plenty to rant about here. Well, not really rant about. I feel more sad. I feel more bad than anything that this is what the Undertaker's retirement has resulted in. Let's go on the biggest podcasting platform in the entire fucking planet and rant about the current WWE locker room. Sounds like a good time to me, Mr. Undertaker. Undertaker was speaking on the current WWE product when he was a recent guest on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he exclaimed that he's not a fan of the current WWE product. Well, at least him and I see eye to eye there. I don't know who is a actual fan of the current WWE product. Maybe if you're one of these fucking sock accounts on social media that has a fucking crayon box for an IQ, then by all means continue to praise what should not be praised, here, there, or anywhere. These shows have sucked for years, and nothing makes sense on these shows. They don't deserve any praise or any credit for doing anything, because most of what they do is bad. And The Undertaker knows that. Now, The Undertaker explained that so much has changed since his glory days with the company, rightfully so, and that despite there being some guys with potential, overall things have become too soft, he says. The only thing that's soft here is me when I watch Bruce Prichard decimate another Monday Night Raw. I don't know who the fuck is going to be excited at Bruce Prichard's vision of Monday Night Raw. I quote, "I try. It's tough right now for me." Oh, really? It's tough for you to watch the product. Let me see Vince McMahon call you up and place you on that same exact show with that same exact product that we see every single week, and I want to see you tell him no. It's so bad. I guess the $3 million paycheck to come back and wrestle Bray Wyatt doesn't look that bad now, right? The product has changed so much, and it's kind of off-putting. I'll probably piss a lot of people off, but they need to hear it. It is what it is. To the young guys who think, oh, he's a bitter old guy, I'm not bitter. I did my time. I walked away when I wanted to walk away. I just think the product is a little soft, he says. There's guys here and there that have an edge to them, but there's too much pretty and not enough substance, I think, right now. So that was his first comment. He then later states that since his generation worked too much with guys of a certain age and didn't really help usher in a new crop of stars, I wonder why. Once top names like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and himself had finished, that left a number of younger talents to work with each other. He says, and I quote, one of the things that happened was that the generation before, we all got old at the same time. So there weren't enough guys to work with the younger guys. You can listen to the fans on the internet, or you can listen to someone who's been there and done it. So there is his stereotypical, let me shit on the fans. They might not notice, but let me shit on them anyway, line of the entire interview. There was just not enough of the merging of young and new talent. When we had Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, we were all working together, and then we all aged out. We aged out, and it left all those young guys to learn with all of the other younger guys, and the product just changed. Taker takes credit for Triple H and the Performance Center bringing him on in, and then also attempting to rebuild the company's great legacy of superstars. He says, and I quote, the Performance Center is helping. We got Triple H, who's trying to get some of the toothpaste back in the tube, take a step back to move forward, to try and move the product more towards the edgy type of product. I think that's exactly what it's missing. Now, he mentioned something about when he was in the locker room, there were people obviously using steroids. This was brought up in the discussion with Joe Rogan. That people in the locker room, when he shared a locker room with them, they were carrying drugs and guns and knives in the locker room. Now, if you go into the locker room, you're seeing a bunch of guys just try and look pretty for the camera. The product is already soft. He called the locker room pretty. He said, instead of seeing all of those guns and knives and drugs, now you walk into a locker room and all you see is fucking guys playing video games. This is exactly what he said. You walk into a current WWE locker room and all you see now, instead of what I saw back in the day, is guys playing video games. So Xavier Woods, of all people, who does video games on the side for a living with up, up, down, down, he commented on The Undertaker's look at modern-day locker rooms in WWE. When you talk about having video games in a locker room, odds are Xavier Woods is going to come to mind. A lot of those guys are going to come to mind. They all game. The man behind Up, Up, Down, Down, Xavier Woods, took to Twitter this week to talk about learning from the past generation. Woods mentioned that he is very thankful to have been taught that having video games in the locker room is healthier than having other things. Here's his tweet, and I quote, I wouldn't be the person that I am without the guidance and lessons of a few key people from previous generations of wrestling. They taught me about the business to save money and that having video games in the locker room is healthier than having redacted. Thank you, guys. End quote. Now, while we don't know exactly who he's talking to because he didn't mention anybody, many have inferred that Woods' tweet was in response to the comments made by The Undertaker on the Joe Rogan Experience. Undertaker recently said that he misses the days when guys had knives and guns in the locker room. He also mentioned that he doesn't understand having video games in the locker room. Folks, I see a lot of people getting upset at The Undertaker online. There's nothing to get upset about. It is within everybody's reason to question this guy. You know, you have every given right to question this guy and what he said and kind of give him a rebuttal of sorts. And I want to try and find my words correctly here so that I could project it to you guys without sounding like I'm disrespecting the guy. Undertaker is my favorite wrestler besides Shawn Michaels of all time. If I was to make a Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, they're on there. No question. Is he right in a sense that the product has gotten soft? Absolutely. The product is soft. The product is overproduced. The product is too pretty. We all know that. When I watch pro wrestling, I don't want to see pretty. When I watch pro wrestling, I don't want to see just absolutely the most visual pleasing thing that I've ever laid my eyes on. I don't want an overabundance of fucking camera angles or camera shots or all this pretty bullshit that we see on a weekly basis with WWE. It's at a point right now where it looks fake. It looks overproduced. It looks like I'm watching a goddamn fucking movie and not a gritty competition between two men or two women. Looking to win championships, looking to shed blood, looking for that competitive aspect. It doesn't even look like I'm watching a sport. And we all know this is a true sport at the end of the day. If you don't think wrestling's a sport, you're a complete blithering idiot. It's a sport. I was one of those guys that never grasped the entertainment aspect. You don't have to try too hard for wrestling to be entertaining. Wrestling could be all those things without giving it the moniker of sports entertainment. It's sports. By default, it's going to be entertaining. If you enjoy it, it's going to be entertainment. If you laugh, it's going to be entertainment. If you find the competitive aspect of it great, that it makes you coming back every single week, every single month to watch what they do, it's entertainment. I never grasp that. I don't want my wrestling to be mainstream. I don't want my wrestling to be pretty or overproduced. I want it gritty. I want it grungy. Because that's exactly what it's supposed to be. That's why we all fell in love with NXT. Because it was dark, it was gritty, it was normal. It's exactly what you thought of when you thought pro wrestling. And everything that they did, they made you laugh, they made you cry, they put emotion into it. The spectrum of emotions that were in NXT at its heyday were off the charts. It was pro wrestling the way we all desired pro wrestling. It does not resemble pro wrestling on the main roster. He is absolutely correct in every assessment on that with that statement. It's too pretty. It's too pretty. As far as the knives and guns and drugs and steroids and all that shit, this is what I don't understand. I don't understand that. I mean, would he want his wife walking into a locker room in his day with all that shit going on? I think the answer would be no. Would he want any one of those men that has wives, children? The Rock. The Rock has Simone. She's training at the Performance Center. Do you think The Undertaker, with how he respects Dwayne, would The Undertaker want Simone walking into a locker room where people were carrying drugs and steroids and knives and guns and God knows what else what in their fucking gym bag? Would he want her to endure what he went through? What about Triple H's sons and daughters? Because you know they're going to be in the business. Do you think they're going to grow up to take the reins from their parents when they take over the company? God knows when that's going to be. Do you think they're going to want guns and knives and drugs and fucking paraphernalia in their locker rooms, gym bags? What about The Undertaker? Doesn't The Undertaker have daughters of his own? What if they grow up to be pro wrestlers? Would The Undertaker want all of that and all of what he saw in his day in the locker room that housed his daughter? I don't think so. So what type of comment is that? I don't really understand the comment, and I don't understand people really jumping down his throat. Was it a stupid comment? Of course it was. It actually makes me want to see The Undertaker talk less. Remember when we seen The Undertaker talk? And it was, oh my God, this is a first, this is new. And then it happened more and more and more and more. And then it's like, okay, the mystique of the character's gone. I want to go back to a day where we hardly hear anything from The Undertaker. Mark Calloway now is at a stage of his life where he's just going to shed, which he is by all means. He has every right to do that. He was silent and he played kayfabe for 30 fucking years with this character. He could do and say whatever the fuck he wants, but it's got to be of a right mind if he's going to start going on shows like this and talking like he did here with Joe Rogan. Now, I don't know why people are up in arms about what he said. The Undertaker is in his mid-50s. He's going to be pushing 60 in a couple of years. I want to tell you a story, man. My grandpa, when he was of a right mind and when he was normal, we'd go over there and we'd sit down and we'd have lunch after he came home from work. Some weeks, my mom would order a pizza right up the street from Loretta's Pizza in the Bronx. And the pizza came. Sometimes it was still so fucking piping hot that when the guy delivered it to the house, the cheese was all over the fucking place. The cheese hadn't settled yet. So it was very overly cheesy. Sometimes it was greasy. Sometimes he didn't like the texture of the pizza. He didn't like the dough. So when we sat down for lunch at my grandma's house with my grandpa sitting at the head of the table, we opened the pizza. He takes the pizza. He eats it with a knife and fork because there was always a fucking problem with it. Takes a bite out of it. And he says, "Why does this taste like shoe leather? It tastes like rubber. You know, back in my day, we got a better slice of pizza that was 4 times this size for a nickel," he says. And we listened to his story about where he used to go and what the name of the place was going to be. You could buy a whole pie for 15 cents. We listened to him because we loved him. We listened to him because we wanted him to be happy, and with him complaining about the pizza, he wasn't happy. I ate it because I was fucking hungry, but he ate it anyway, A, because he was hungry, and B, because he loved spending time with his grandkids. And he knew that we wanted pizza. But the Undertaker reminds me of a grandpa. He reminds me of what I went through with my grandfather. He just comes off like an aging grandpa overlooking all of the young kids that now occupy the locker room that he once was the king of. He's like my grandfather telling me about that 5-cent slice of pizza that was 4 times the size of whatever we got for lunch that tasted unbelievably better than what we got. Of course he's going to come off that way. In his day, that locker room and the guys that he worked with and the product that they put out could do no wrong. So clearly when he goes into this current locker room, he's going to see all the things that aren't familiar with him, and he's going to see how things are done differently, and he's going to reminisce, this is how we did it. I preferred it this way. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I don't know about the knives and guns and fucking drugs. That's a different story for a different day. But he's nothing more than a grandfather to all the younger children out there. Now, I don't know how you guys feel. I don't really grasp the video game concept because I'm a video game guy. I play every day. Keeps my mind at ease. It keeps my brain moving, right? My hand-eye coordination. But if I'm a leader in a locker room, or if I'm an owner of a wrestling promotion, what would I rather have in the locker room? Would I rather have video games? Or would I rather have knives, guns, and some illegal substance in the locker room? With God knows what going on, who's injecting who? I don't really get it. He came from a day and age where all the people that he worked with are either fucking crippled, dead, or on their last string. And he's missing knives, guns, and drugs, and paraphernalia and steroids. And he's not understanding why that's not in the locker room today. This is how I did it back in the day. Everybody that you once loved is gone. So why would that be a thing today? They got strict policies. WWE is a publicly traded company now. There's things that they can't do. There's things that they shouldn't do even if they weren't a publicly traded company. But if you're asking me if video games are a bad thing in the locker room, no. Video games in the locker room means that people are staying out of trouble. I'd rather them fucking risk their goddamn life jumping over a fucking mushroom trying to grab a Starman than injecting some illegal substance in their arm. 6 months later, they're fucking dead. I would much rather see the video games thrive in the locker room than anything. The Undertaker should be using his platform. The Undertaker should be using his free time to go on Joe Rogan and boast up the current locker room. Who do you like and why? Putting current talent over. All the Undertaker has done here in this, without mentioning any specific names, is bury the locker room. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to do that because Triple H has left the door open for him to come and be a coach or a mentor at the Performance Center. But don't you think his time is better spent by telling everybody to do the things that they need to do to be successful and not follow the road that he took? Not many are going to be following the same road as The Undertaker. He should be taking all of those years of struggle and sleepless nights and the nightmares that he's seen happening around him. The nights where he slept in his fucking car to make enough money to go to the next city and wrestle the next match, rinse and repeat. He should be telling people these stories. He should be using everything he's learned and everything that he saw growing up in this industry. He should be using all of that and projecting that onto the current talent so that his inspiration could lead to the next guy. And that guy that hears your story would be touched so much that he passes it on to the next young guy that comes into his locker room, because at some point, one of those guys is going to be the next Undertaker in that locker room, if not already. It boggles my mind how things like this could just be said, and then we got to get, oh, well, you can listen to me, or you can listen to the internet fan or the podcast out there by some unknown who don't know jack shit. Give me a break. Give me a break. The Undertaker should have absolutely reworded what he said to Joe Rogan. Instead of burying the active talent and the active locker room, you should be using what you've been given here and the fortunate circumstance that you could go out there and shed this gimmick after 30 years. Instead of spreading hate and negativity, spread positivity, inspirational to that locker room. Unreal. Speaking of inspirational and Bruce Prichard do not belong in the same sentence. Bruce Prichard is a fucking failure. This guy is so much of a failure that his own writing team can't even fucking stand him. This guy is so far up Vince McMahon's asshole that he doesn't know when the sun sets and when the sun shines. This guy is a slob of epic proportions. And he can't write a wrestling show to save his fucking life. He only yeses Vince McMahon to death. And then he asks Vince McMahon, boss, when could I tickle that left testicle later on this evening? I'm very, very excited. Because that's all he does. Bruce Prichard got his writing staff Christmas gifts. As if they have a writing staff that they lean on. Yeah, right. Bruce works with his writing staff? Give me a break. Give me a break. So he gets his writing staff Christmas gifts. And these gifts did not go over at all with those individuals. Now, Ringside News, they have broken a couple of exclusives this year already. They have been told that the gift Bruce Prichard gave to the WWE writing staff didn't rub anyone the wrong way, but it was the presentation he decided to use that did not go over very well. Now, let me backtrack here. WWE asked everybody having a Twitch account or an OnlyFans or Patreon or any third-party platform outlet, WWE said, nope, you cannot do it any longer. Even under your real name, WWE is not allowing those to go on Twitch and entertain the audience playing video games. Because playing fucking Dungeons and Dragons or Pokemon or Fortnite is too much for Vince McMahon to handle. One of the people that actually pushed for this edict to go through was Bruce Prichard. Now, I find that to be quite hilarious because of all the fucking people that's yesing Vince McMahon here, he is the one who is guilty of having a third-party platform with his podcast, Something to Wrestle with Conrad Thompson. It's okay for Bruce Prichard to do it, but it's not okay for the Mia Yims and the Jessamine Dukes and the Dakota Kais and the Adam Coles and all these other people, Oscars, to do this on YouTube and on Twitch, right? Rules for thee, but not for me, says Bruce Prichard. He was one who was very vocal about, we got to put it into effect. And the only reason why he said that was because we all know he loves the cock of the McMahon. We all know this, okay? So he pushed it through. He yesed Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon went through with it. But Bruce was still able to have his Something to Wrestle With podcast with no repercussions. So now that you're caught up on this, Ringside News was told that Bruce Prichard sent Christmas cards. How sweet. What a kind gesture, Bruce. Christmas cards to the entire writing team with Amazon gift cards in it. You know, Amazon, I have one right here. Amazon gift cards. I have a $100 one I haven't used yet. Amazon gift cards. So, the presentation is what irked everybody. This was a nice gesture, but he sent those gifts, those cards, were inside Something to Wrestle With envelopes, complete with his podcast logo. Using Something to Wrestle With Christmas cards was seen as inappropriate by several members of the writing team. The amount of the gift card was not the issue, but it was the card itself. Since WWE's third-party ban is still relatively fresh in everybody's mind, everyone saw this as Bruce Prichard promoting his outside venture from within the company. Now, they got a quote from an anonymous source here, and it says this, and I quote, "He said something promoting his outside venture when people like Zelina were fired for outside ventures, and he is our leader backstage," end quote. Now, I don't really understand. This is what irks the shit out of me, and this is why I am the way that I am, because it's wrong. It's wrong. What makes him able? And what's giving him the right to be allowed to do what he does? All because he's been there for 30 fucking years. He knows Vince McMahon better than anybody not named a McMahon? This is what you have to do to get ahead. Be buddy-buddy with Vince McMahon, right? I don't understand. You could do all that, but at the same time, with the same fucking breath that you breathe, the same air that you breathe, you could be a human being, a good one at that. You could be Vince McMahon's little fucking dick sucker. You could run around and fucking do all the errands you want for Vince McMahon. You could yes the fucking guy to death, whatever the case may be. But you could also do that and be a good human being at the same time. Why couldn't Bruce, because I'm sure he has access to them, and this is why it was done deliberately, folks. So when I shit on Bruce Prichard, there's a reason why I shit on, because he's a piece of shit. He's a human piece of garbage. This guy works in WWE. He's a higher executive of the company. You mean to tell me that this guy couldn't put those Amazon gift cards in WWE envelopes? What was stopping him from putting them in WWE envelopes? Nothing. They probably got a whole fucking closet full of WWE envelopes. All you gotta do is call up Aleister Black. He knows exactly where they are. But you put them in Something to Wrestle With envelopes because you want to make it known that you're allowed to do it and everybody else can't do it. You want it to be known that you hold the absolute power in this company and there's nothing anybody can do about it. That's what I call a human piece of shit, folks. Now you know why we hate Bruce Prichard on this channel. It goes way beyond ruining our monthly, weekly, yearly, Monday night tradition with Raw. Get a load of this. As if that didn't make any sense. WWE Creative. I don't know who has the pull or the stroke here to get something out there to the general public. Gotta be Bruce, gotta be Vince, or gotta be somebody with some fucking pull back there. It's not gonna be Joe Schmo fucking geek wearing the glasses in the WWE writing room. They can't even go to the bathroom without asking permission. They're gonna fucking tell Adam Pearce to tweet something on social media? Adam Pearce tweeted out get this, he tweeted out about a new Royal Rumble rule. Now, it's not really new because it's been happening, and people started to question this new rule because it didn't make any fucking sense. WWE instructed Adam Pearce to go on social media and give clarification on why some people have been declaring themselves in the Royal Rumble and why others, Ricochet, Gulak. Oh, man. Man, these winter allergies are really getting to me, bro. Like, give me a sec. Oh, man. Terrible out there, bro. Allergies are tough this time of year. So, he was told to go on social media and clarify why some declare and are able to declare, and others like Ricochet and Gulak need to qualify for the Royal Rumble. Adam Pearce tweeted out saying this, and I quote, "It's actually pretty simple. Those that have been granted the ability to simply declare into the Royal Rumble by management are free to do so. Those that haven't must qualify. I don't write the rules. I enforce them." End quote. That was not something he came up with on his own. So, Ringside News has learned that this tweet was handed to Adam Pearce by WWE Creative. Now, who that is, I don't know. Could be Bruce, could be Vince, could be Mark Carrano. It could be any one of these fucking geeks backstage that don't know their hand from their fucking ass. This is actually the reason why WWE is treating some superstars differently as they head into the Royal Rumble match this year. They, Ringside News, were also told that this kind of thing happens all the time as different social media posts progress the storyline. This piece of Royal Rumble information is official and should be taken as more than just a tweet, says Ringside News. Let me get this straight. You're now backtracking on what you realize doesn't make sense. Or maybe you thought it made sense and everybody called you out on your fucking bullshit and explained to you, hey, this doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make sense. Do you want to know what I see when I see something like this? WWE's allowed everybody to declare themselves in the Royal Rumble, minus Ricochet and Drew Gulak. Look at everybody that is declared, and then look at where Ricochet and Drew Gulak fall on the food chain in the hierarchy of WWE on Raw or on SmackDown. I think Gulak's on SmackDown, right? Who the fuck knows? I don't even know. He's so irrelevant, I don't even know what brand he's affiliated with. Ricochet's on Raw. Ricochet is dead and buried. Why would they just give him a spot in the Royal Rumble? I don't know. Wasn't he in the Royal Rumble in 2020? Didn't he have a big part in Brock Lesnar being eliminated in the Royal Rumble with a low blow? Right before the Claymore kick that sent him over the top rope? I remember that vividly. But now this year, he's not allowed in the Royal Rumble. He's got to qualify for the Royal Rumble. AJ called him a loser. Adam Pearce says this is a good opportunity for management to take a look at you before they assess the situation and put you in the Royal Rumble. AJ calls you a loser. You go out there, you lose to AJ Styles. And if AJ Styles calls you a loser and backs up in the ring that you are a loser by handing you a loss, that makes you a loser, Mr. Rick O'Shea. Drew Gulak's another fucking story. This guy was chasing around the 24/7 title dressed as a goddamn fucking chicken. Dressed as the gobbledygooker. These guys are fucking buried beyond recognition in WWE. But it doesn't make sense. They had Ricochet go out there needing to qualify, and in the very next segment, they had Dana fucking Brooke go out there and declare herself in the Royal Rumble. Here's a better question. They want to enforce this on social media. They knew what they were doing. Why didn't they come up with an explanation on TV to give us the ever-important reason of why? I don't see any explanation in this tweet. Those that have been granted the ability to declare themselves in the Royal Rumble by management are free to do so. Why? Why? What is the why in this situation? Have you given me a reason as to why they want this? Of course they didn't. WWE doesn't even know why. That's why we didn't get the why. What a half-assed fucking reason for this to be enforced by Adam Pearce. It doesn't make sense at all. WWE should be ashamed that they're going into the Royal Rumble with little to no fucking idea of what they're doing on television. Fucking ridiculous. WWE Backstage is returning to FS1 on the night before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. It's returning. So what that means is you're going to see Mr. What's-His-Face on there with his emo haircut. Maybe we'll get fucking Good Charlotte played in the background because that's exactly what he listens to. Only the music of pussies. It's exactly what he listens to. Then he'll go on Pornhub, and you guys get the point. You guys get the point. WWE on Fox, their Twitter account, posted a video of Renee Paquette announcing that the show will air just before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view on Saturday, January 30th at 8 p.m. That will be the night before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Paquette says she's happy about this because she gets to see Paige and Booker T. As noted a few months ago when the weekly show was axed, there was talk of the show returning for special occasions, and that appears to be what is happening here. A lot of people ask JD, is this WWE Backstage returning? No, it's not, and stop trying to pretend like you give a shit. Nobody gave a fuck about Backstage. They really didn't. The only thing I give a shit about is if CM Punk's going to be on this to talk about the fucking horrendous Royal Rumble that we're going to get. Is he going to be on the show? Maybe I'll tune in. If not, who gives a fuck what Paige and Booker T has to say? You don't give a fuck about Backstage, so why are you pretending like you care? Nobody watched it when it was around every week. Now you want to watch? What don't you know about the Royal Rumble that they're going to uncover for you? Why, you say you see more Bill Goldberg highlights and more Bill Goldberg fucking sucking the dick on Backstage? I also find it quite bizarre that this woman left WWE and now she's got to be back on Fox talking about the company in which she left. It's going to be great to see her as Renee Paquette and not Renee Young on WWE television. Awesome. And what this also solidifies is that this is absolutely 100%, no doubt about it, a Fox production. No doubt about it. Let's talk about this WrestleMania stuff, man. We got a lot to go over here. Fans, this is the one thing that I think a lot of people are excited about. The fact that fans will be in attendance at WrestleMania 37. I'd like to be down there. I just don't know what the restrictions are going to be for WrestleMania. Getting into the venue, flights down there, quarantining and all that stuff. It's not something I want to go through, but I'd love to be down there. I really would. Meet and greets, nice dinners with some friends, getting out of New York City. Should be good. I'll let you guys know. Fans will be in attendance at WrestleMania 37 in Tampa. This is confirmed. Okay, WrestleMania 37, as we know, was announced 2 nights, Saturday, April 10th, and Sunday, April 11th. WrestleMania 38 will take place at AT&T Stadium in Dallas on April 3rd. Seems like they're going back to the one-night events next year. And WrestleMania 39 will take place at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles on Sunday, April 2nd in 2023. Now, a press release sent out by the company confirms that fans will be in attendance at this year's WrestleMania in Tampa, Florida. The company will announce ticket information soon. WWE has been looking at how sporting events have been welcoming fans to their venues, and that played a part in the decision to welcome fans back. Presumably, there will be social distancing guidelines in place at this show. According to the press release, there are plans for additional events during WrestleMania week. Now, Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Live discussed WrestleMania 37's ticket situation. He said that Governor Ron DeSantis is actually bought and paid for. This is right out of his mouth. He's bought and paid for. Linda McMahon promising $18.5 million to the state of Florida a day prior to WWE being declared an essential business is further proof of that. Tampa Bay's NFL team is able to get around 14,000 fans in their stadium, which has a capacity of 65,890 at Raymond James Stadium. WWE will sell as many seats as they can to celebrate the return of live fans. The Tampa Buccaneers have been selling about 14,000 tickets, says Dave Meltzer, to Raymond James Stadium for home games. Now, obviously, we all know DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he's bought and paid for, essentially, so they're going to be able to do whatever they want to do. I presume this will be their big thing of the WWE year with fans in attendance. Now, while speaking with The Wrap, Stephanie McMahon was also asked about why WWE decided to let fans know about WrestleMania locations for the next 2 years. They typically didn't do this in the past. McMahon explained that they did this because it simply makes things easier. It helps everyone involved to know where they are going, especially if they can get that kind of advanced warning. She says this, and I quote, "It just helps everybody. It helps us for planning purposes. It helps our fans plan their trips. It helps in so many different capacities, and we now can really work with all of our partners across the board in all these major cities and really blow everything out as big as we possibly can. Also, during this time, I think people need hope, and I think you need something to look forward to." I like that explanation. I like that explanation about people needing hope and people needing something to look forward to. I like that. Normally, I would say, it's just WWE and one of the McMahons shilling the company with some bullshit fucking lie with some random interview that they conducted. I like that. It gives people hope that things are hopefully going to slowly, over the next couple of years, get back to normal. Now, I am not surprised by fans being in attendance. I think we all kind of came to that conclusion. How many people are going to be in attendance? 65,890. There will not be 65,000 rather. There will not be 65,890 people in attendance at WrestleMania. It's not going to happen. WWE knew this. That's why they went for 2 nights. So how many people are going to be in attendance? Now, I think I seen somewhere online that the Super Bowl is going to allow between 20 to 23,000 fans to be in attendance at Raymond James Stadium on February 7th. That would be about 1/3 capacity, okay? Now, I know for a fact, and if you watch WWE programming, you know this is exactly how they operate. Whatever the Super Bowl does, WWE is going to go above and beyond the Super Bowl. Just so that they have it within their fucking being to say, well, we outdrew the Super Bowl in the middle of a pandemic. You know exactly, that's exactly what they're doing and what they're thinking. You know it. So if they have 20 to 22, 23,000, WWE is probably going to have upwards towards 30,000 people in attendance. I told you this from day one. As soon as they announced it, and we talked about it legitimately last week, WWE is going to do whatever they can to split that venue in half on both days, in which both nights are able to generate 65,890 people. That's exactly what they're going to do. Exactly what they're going to do. Now, WWE expects 25,000 for each night at WrestleMania. That's what they expect. WWE is yet to put tickets on sale for public to buy. But WrestleVote sent out a tweet this week that revealed the expectation the company is expecting for WrestleMania. WWE has moved WrestleMania 37 from March 28th at SoFi to Raymond James Stadium over 2 nights. They noted that the company expects to have 25,000 fans in attendance for each night, which would give them 50,000 in total. However, there's also a bigger question that remains, and it's in regards to how the company will handle post-Mania TV events with fans. They say, and I quote, WWE is planning on permitting upwards towards 25,000 fans for WrestleMania on each night. The real internal discussions are what to do afterwards. Some would like a soft reopening of the touring schedule for WWE's television shows, as they will no longer be allowed to do Thunderdome. Now, I don't know what they're planning on doing. The WrestleMania thing, I think we all know. You and I both know what they're doing, okay? That's exactly what they're going to do. Whatever the Super Bowl has, I think the Super Bowl is even going to go above and beyond what they are talking about. which in turn would tell WWE, oh, we got to do more than the Super Bowl. That's their plan. That's their goal. Let's do more than the Super Bowl. What happens with the Thunderdome? Every major sport is going to be coming back. Tropicana Field is not going to be available because the Rays are going to be playing baseball there. You can't go to the other venue because the Orlando Magic are playing there. Can't go to the other venue that they have for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you're going to have the NBA, the MLB, and the NHL all being back at the same time. And that means 3 venues are going to be occupied, which means WWE can't have a steady home for weekly television. They can't go into a football stadium. They can't use Raymond James Stadium because of it being outside. It's not a dome. And there's going to be weather issues. Tropicana Field, they're lucky with Tropicana Field because it's a closed set. They can have it open, they can have it closed. It's a dome. I don't know what they do. But it looks like, and this is what I hope. I don't know exactly what they're doing. I would hope that they go to some sort of amphitheater of sorts that allows 3,000 to 4,000, maybe 5,000 fans if they can. Get in there, do what they got to do, and by that time, WWE won't have to rely on the Thunderdome anymore or the virtual fucking screens and that concept. They could actually have live fans, whether they fill those venues with full capacity or even half capacity. It's going to be better than whatever we're getting now. I could see them absolutely going up and down the Florida coast at amphitheaters. If they're going to allow fans at WrestleMania, then they are going to allow fans thereafter WrestleMania. It only makes sense. So that is exactly what I think is going to happen, and that is what I think WWE is going to do for the capacity at Raymond James Stadium for WrestleMania on night 1 and night 2. Now, a lot of people were asking, what's the length of WrestleMania going to be? Because this year, we're getting 2 nights. Last year was 2 nights. Is it going to be close to what they did last year? I hope so. WrestleMania started at 7 o'clock, and then it ended somewhere in the 10 o'clock vicinity. Now, granted, they had an empty arena inside the Performance Center, and they kept it short because I think they know they didn't even want to be there. Crowds don't want to watch 8 hours of empty fucking gymnasium inside the Performance Center for a WrestleMania show. It's bad enough that it didn't even resemble WrestleMania. Then we got to sit there for 8 hours in silence. Come on. So everybody's wondering now with WrestleMania and the aspect of fans being at Raymond James Stadium this year, is it going to be a little longer? The answer is no. The answer is no. According to PW Insider, the company is currently planning each show to be 3 hours long. They want to run the event on night 1 and night 2 from 7 p.m. to roughly 10 p.m. Now, we'll have to see if WWE sticks to that plan, but depending on the night, WWE could easily go to 10:30 if they want. As long as it doesn't eclipse 4 hours, I'm good to go. They could do whatever they want because they're going to be on their own network. But I think the shorter, the better. The shorter, the better to consume. The shorter, in my honest opinion, the more important the event feels. Believe it or not. The longer the event goes, that means a lot of fluff is on the show. You're going to put what you need to on the show to make it important. 3 hours long. We don't want to sit there for 8 hours. Everything just feels better. Everything flows better. Everything looks better. Everything just feels more important, you know? And then obviously being that I do what I do and a lot of others in the community do what they do, I don't want to come on here at 1 o'clock in the morning doing a live stream when I'm fucking dead to the world after watching an 8-hour WrestleMania and then stay here live till 3 o'clock. Nobody wants to watch that. We're going to have a lot bigger of an audience after WrestleMania live on YouTube here than compared to other WrestleManias that ended at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. It's better for us as content creators as well. Much rather come on here at 10 o'clock and be off the air by 12 than come on here at 1 and be on the air till 3. Get to bed at 12:30 after WrestleMania? Bro, sign me up. Sign me up. Now, kickoff show for WrestleMania is also likely. It's unknown whether WWE will hold a 1 or 2 hour kickoff show this year. Whatever. Do whatever you got to do. As long as the actual event, the only thing that we actually care about, is 3 hours long. As of this writing, there are no scheduled matches for the show. Ringside News has exclusively reported Vince McMahon's ideas are only Vince McMahon's ideas. We'll get to that in a second. So now we got the fans squared away for WrestleMania. We got the current length of Night 1 and Night 2 squared away for WrestleMania. What other events are going to be happening during WrestleMania weekend? Hall of Fame is one of them, and there are current plans for the Hall of Fame ceremony. Now, I don't know if this is exactly what they want, but they may be in a situation where they have no other choice. Now, the 2020 Hall of Fame ceremony ended up getting postponed because of obvious reasons. WWE wasn't able to hold a Hall of Fame ceremony as they had hoped for, and they haven't had any fans in attendance at any of their shows since last March. WWE looked to possibly hold the Hall of Fame ceremony at SummerSlam, where they actually wanted fans at SummerSlam. That got moved from Boston to the Performance Center. WWE had wanted fans in attendance for the pay-per-view event, and it was reported by WrestleVotes last August, or was SummerSlam inside the Thunderdome? I'm not sure. I think it was, right? It was the first night for the Thunderdome concept. I think that was the case. Either way, there was no fans there. Now, it was reported by WrestleVotes last August that the plan was to induct the 2020 class as the 2021 class during WrestleMania 37 weekend. There was plans that WWE, if they were allowed to have fans, to hold the Hall of Fame ceremony SummerSlam weekend, but that obviously did not happen. Dave Meltzer noted during the latest episode of the Wrestling Observer Live that the latest plan is that WWE will hold a Hall of Fame ceremony this year, but not in a traditional way. Instead, they will do it virtually. There you go, folks. I know your excitement went right out the fucking window. Says, and I quote, they're going to announce more activities. The plan is to do Hall of Fame. The last I heard, virtually without fans, but that could change. That might be tough. Now, the 2020 class included Batista, John Bradshaw Layfield, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, Jushin Thunder Liger, the Bella Twins, and the NWO, Hogan, Nash, Hall, and X-Pac. So that is the Hall of Fame class this year. WWE confirmed on Saturday that WrestleMania 37 will take place, like I said, April 10th and April 11th in Tampa. You know, it makes me wonder, and I hope this is not the case, because I know others have thought about it, and I know you have thought about it as well. And now I'm just thinking about it after reading this. WWE is pretty much taking whatever they did not do last year, and they're doing it this year. Whatever was planned last year, they're doing this year, because last year they didn't have fans, and now this year they're going to have fans. To an extent, fans. I hope that doesn't migrate to the actual WrestleMania show. I hope that this doesn't mean whatever WWE's plans were last year that got scrapped or put on hold are going to happen this year at WrestleMania. Meaning John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. We got a Firefly Funhouse match because there were no fans. Now that there's going to be fans in attendance, is Cena going to come back for 30,000 people? Maybe. Possibly. Are they going to do a full-fledged John Cena versus Bray Wyatt match? I don't know. What about Bill Goldberg and Roman Reigns? We didn't get that last year. Roman walked away. Is WWE going to go and do that again this year? Because they didn't do it last year and their plans got canceled. What about Edge and Randy Orton? You think Edge and Randy Orton wanted to have a 40-minute fucking bore fest at WrestleMania last year? A match that went way too long. Just around the Performance Center, and they had to do what they had to do. You think they wanted that last year? Who's to say we don't get that again this year in a traditional wrestling ring, wrestling match? I hope to God not. I don't want WrestleMania 37 to be a repeat of WrestleMania 36, but in Raymond James Stadium with half of the fans there. Nobody wants that. So that's exactly what I'm thinking. WWE could have easily inducted everybody into the Hall of Fame. Hey, you're in the Hall of Fame. Shit happens. It is what it is. Here's your fucking ring. Goodbye. They could have inducted a new class this year. I could see why that would be a terrible business move, but they could have absolutely done that. I just hope that we're not getting a repeat of what we got last year this year, because last year we didn't have fans, and this year we got fans. Virtual Hall of Fame, folks. I know you're fucking brimming with excitement. The current progress of WrestleMania 37, man. You know, once upon a time, there would be WWE shows around October, around November, definitely going into December, that you would have a good idea of where they're going with WrestleMania. You'd have maybe 1, 2, at most 3 matches booked in your head for WrestleMania that more than likely were concrete but not yet confirmed by WWE television. It was always a thing. Realistically, WWE should have WrestleMania at least in an air bubble, a thought bubble, by Survivor Series. That has not been the case for many, many years. WWE doesn't even start their WrestleMania build until the 4 weeks leading up to WrestleMania. God knows what they're going to do this year. We may not get any matches announced until after Fastlane. They got a pay-per-view 3 weeks before WrestleMania 37. All of the matches are probably not even going to be announced until after Fastlane concludes, folks. You heard it here first. What is the current progress for WrestleMania 37? Meltzer discussed the company's direction right now is non-existent. He pointed out that they don't have one single WrestleMania plan in mind at this point. The most they have come up with at this point is figuring out that Mania will be a 2-day event again this year. He says, and I quote, "There's no plan. They don't even have WrestleMania booked other than that. And the fact is that they're doing 2 nights, not one plan. They got that at least figured out. The card, not so much." Now, that's pretty sad. You need WrestleMania plans because clearly you got a Royal Rumble match to book. We'll get some idea of what's happening at WrestleMania at the end of the Royal Rumble. But WWE should have WrestleMania plans in mind, so Meltzer isn't totally correct here. They should have WrestleMania plans in mind because their booking and creative that goes into the Royal Rumble is directly going to affect WrestleMania. So at least coming out of Royal Rumble, we're going to have 2 championship matches determined. Whether it's for the WWE title, Universal title, that remains to be seen. But we're going to have a women's championship match as well for the Raw or SmackDown Women's Championship. And then at the end of the Elimination Chamber, we'll have a better idea of who's challenging the other major men's title for the other major men's title, and the same for the women. So by the end of the Chamber, we'll have 4 matches confirmed for WrestleMania. And then Fastlane. Again, I don't understand the reason for Fastlane. I don't know why we need a pay-per-view 3 weeks before the biggest show of the year. I don't know why you just don't make Monday Night Raw and SmackDown leading up to WrestleMania like pay-per-views. Because God knows they fucking need it. Vince McMahon, he's not sharing any ideas for WrestleMania right now with any members of his writing team. Whether this concerns Bruce or not, I have no idea. Vince McMahon actually has a few things in mind, but the information stops with Vince McMahon. Now, Ringside News has learned that Vince McMahon has a few of the main matches in his head. There's nothing on the official WrestleMania grid for either Saturday or Sunday, April 10 and April 11th. A tenured writer with extensive knowledge of this particular situation told us at Ringside News that no information is coming down from the top. Bruce Prichard was pointed to as the dam stopping the flow. So Bruce Prichard is the only one that knows, clearly. And then he's not relaying that information to the writing team. So I don't know, maybe they would be able to write good fucking television? Because Bruce and Vince want to be directly responsible for the shows. They want complete power, and they want no outside sources, no infiltration by anybody not a part of the fucking elite to get in there and have a better idea than them, because it would put them to shame and it would show them that they're not doing their job to the best of their abilities. Am I on the right track, Bruce? I think so. How are you Vince McMahon employ 70 fucking writers or so, whatever the fucking number is, and you don't have the wherewithal to inform them? Or better yet, Bruce, why would Vince McMahon say, no, don't tell them? But Bruce Prichard is the dam that's stopping that flow. Isn't he the executive producer of Raw and SmackDown? I don't know how you could executively produce and overlook creative when you're taking all of the creative and stuffing them in your pocket as if they're going to get you somewhere. Maybe you're looking for someone to bury. Maybe you don't want specific people on the WrestleMania card because for whatever reason you don't like that person. I just find it to be very bizarre how nobody in this company is working as a team to make this show the best it could possibly be. That is clear-cut information that this WrestleMania is being booked by Vince McMahon, an out-of-touch 74-year-old senile fuck. And Bruce Prichard, whose claim to fame is brother love. Unbelievable. The information is not flowing as it used to. And a lack of respect for the staff was also noted as an ongoing issue. Not sharing those plans is an indication of that, says Ringside News. Now, they were also told that there is currently no direction except for a constantly changing direction. How these people show up to work and look in the mirror and are pleased with the job that they do, man, I don't know. No top matches locked in for WrestleMania 37. Absolutely no top matches working right now for WrestleMania. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest Observer newsletter. This is as of Friday, yesterday, that WWE has not locked in top matches for WrestleMania 37. The reason for this is due to there not being a real direction on both Raw and SmackDown. Well, you don't say, Dave. You don't say. There's no real direction on SmackDown. I don't need you to tell me that. All you got to do is watch 3 hours of a horrendous program called Raw on Monday night. SmackDown being a little bit better because they house Sasha Banks and Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. It was stated that the top title matches for Raw have yet to be confirmed, while the company has looked at two possible opponents for Universal Champion Roman Reigns on the SmackDown side. Now get this. Daniel Bryan is not a lock to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. He remains in discussion, obviously, because they told that story. But he's not in discussion right now as the top lock. He's not definite for Roman Reigns. And Shinsuke Nakamura is not one of the names being looked at. And rightfully so. He doesn't belong at WrestleMania in that match with Roman Reigns. Are you fucking kidding me? You want to bury this guy for 3.5 years and then you want me to believe because he was booked good in 2 months that he deserves a fucking Royal Rumble win and a WrestleMania match against Roman Reigns? Where the fuck was the guy 3 years ago? You fucking serious? All you Nakamura heads out there, man, you gotta be fucking dumb as a box of pencils. Oh, but he deserves it. He deserves it. I deserve a good fucking show. You deserve a good show. I don't give a fuck what this guy's done because he won a gauntlet match. Or he looked good, rather, in a gauntlet match. You want to put him in the WrestleMania main event for being a failure for 3.5 years? Thank God you're not writing this show. None of you are. I'm not saying that he can't be successful, but putting him in a main event match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, my God, man. My God. More than likely, he'll be saved for Elimination Chamber. They need opponents. They need to feed Roman Reigns on the way to WrestleMania. What they do after WrestleMania is unknown at this point. We don't know. But Daniel Bryan is the only one that makes sense legitimately. I am not saying that Bryan should win the Royal Rumble and then go on to Roman Reigns and beat him for the Universal title at WrestleMania. I'm not saying that, nor have I ever said that. People claim, well, JD, why do you want Daniel Bryan to be there so much? Why do you care so much that it's Bryan? Because story. Because story. This is one of the most interesting stories that you have that exists right now on the current roster that happens to be something you have not tapped into yet. It is WrestleMania worthy in story and in match. Daniel Bryan's chase as a babyface with fans in attendance is going to be unbelievable against Roman Reigns, who right now is the top heel in the entire industry. And this storyline gives you absolutely no surprises. You know everything already. All you need to do is have Paul Heyman, Roman, Bryan work on this and deliver via the promo. And we all know how good that could be if in the right situation. I don't really grasp how you people don't understand this. Where have I ever said I wanted Daniel Bryan to be the one to take down Roman Reigns? This is not 5 years ago. This is a different Roman Reigns, a bigger Roman Reigns, a faster Roman Reigns, a better Roman Reigns, a heel Roman Reigns. And fuck you to whoever says, oh, he's not allowed to like Roman Reigns. He shit on him for 7 years. Let me tell you something, motherfucker. How many people in the community have been fighting the good fight to get this fucking guy to be a heel? That's all I ever wanted. It was never personal. I never had any personal agenda against Joseph Anawai. I never said anything about his fucking cancer, even though you try to still zing me on that one. You fucking geeks. How many years have I expressed that it was always about the character? They need to do this to wipe the bad taste out of our mouths. And what happened? 7 years later, I and a few others who pushed for it stand correct. I am at the head of the table with Roman Reigns because I lobbied for it for 7 fucking years. And what happened? You got the best Roman Reigns that you've ever been given. So spare me the bullshit. Bryan makes the most sense. Absolutely on top of everybody, Bryan makes the most sense. WWE has confirmed that WrestleMania, or they haven't really confirmed, but WrestleVotes, let me rephrase that. WrestleVotes confirms pretty much that they're working on 4 major matches at WrestleMania. And if WrestleVotes is tweeting it out, I'm going to take it as this is actually happening. That's why I use the word confirmed. If they say something about this, more than likely it's exactly what's going to be. WrestleVotes has stated, this is as of Friday as well, that the creative team, Bruce and Vince, have started working on bigger ideas for the show, and that the feeling is that 4 major matches are needed. Now, Goldberg and John Cena, WrestleVotes has added, Goldberg and John Cena are said to be nearly locked in. The Rock is unlikely. He's not going to be in Tampa. And things with The Undertaker, they are to be determined. Since Taker's retired, they say, WrestleVotes, I would assume that he would be there to give someone a chokeslam or a tombstone instead of an actual match. In regards to Triple H appearing on the show, WrestleVotes added that his status is to be determined. This is where my skin begins to crawl. And it already is beginning to crawl as I speak about this. 4 major matches. 4 major matches. Look at the names that we've been given, folks. Triple H, The Undertaker, John Cena, and Bill Goldberg. So you mean to tell me that 4 names like this are going to occupy 4 matches on a show that is being held over 2 nights, and I'm assuming we'll have 7 to 8 matches per night? Because the normal WrestleMania show gets about 16. Right? I don't really understand the ideology here. I don't understand the mentality of all of this. More and more, we complain about WrestleMania not feeling like WrestleMania. I don't understand why WWE, and this goes back to them, because they are the ones to be blamed here. Why do they need to go out? Why do they need to go out and get talent like a Goldberg, a Cena, an Undertaker, Triple H, who are WrestleMania in name, but not WrestleMania in where they are with their career? Triple H is leading NXT as a creative force. He's the man directly in charge of every aspect of NXT and NXT UK. Yet you want him to come back and wrestle. For what? The last time we seen Triple H wrestle, didn't he get injured? Did he blow a fucking quad or a fucking tricep? Wrestling in Saudi Arabia? Yeah, you want him to come back again. Even older, even slower, more out of shape. Give me a break. I've said it once, and I'm going to say it again. Triple H is more valuable now to WWE than he ever has in his entire career. And I stand on that hill. The Undertaker, this guy's on Joe Rogan talking about guns and knives in the fucking locker room and how he injected himself with fucking steroids for all the years that he wrestled under Vince McMahon's fucking watch. Yeah, you want him to be back at WrestleMania. Older, slower, retired. The last thing I want is a match with Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. That doesn't bode well for anybody. Or another match with AJ Styles, this time away from the Boneyard. You buried him last year. What's going to happen this year? I am afraid. I really am. And I want to run down the ideas here for WrestleMania. Goldberg and John Cena are neatly locked in. I want to start with John Cena. I appreciate John Cena. You might not like that. You might not like those words coming out of my mouth, but I appreciate John Cena. I think John Cena is great. I think John Cena being back actually has more value than a Triple H, a Goldberg, an Undertaker, any one of those guys. John Cena being back holds more weight and more value than anybody. Because to me, he's still the face of the WWE, even though he's semi-retired. Until he finally hangs up those boots completely and never wrestles another match in his life, he will always be the guy that they still lean on. If John Cena comes back, what could John Cena realistically do at WrestleMania? There's only one of two things that he could do. One, like I mentioned this before, Bray Wyatt, after he's done with Randy Orton, what exactly does Bray Wyatt have to do on Monday Night Raw? There's legitimately nothing on Raw after he disposes of Randy Orton whenever they actually have this gimmick match between the two. What exactly is he going to do? There's nobody on that brand for him to feud with. John Cena comes back and maybe gets a real match out of Bray Wyatt in front of live human beings? That could be a possibility. Do I want to see that? Absolutely not. Does John Cena get his identity back after being in the Firefly Funhouse and just vanishing away from everybody? Does Bray Wyatt get his revenge in an actual match at WrestleMania? I don't know. But that's an idea. If they're bringing Cena back, I could see him absolutely being in the ring with Bray Wyatt, the Fiend. What about Drew McIntyre? We don't know what's going on with Drew McIntyre. I have said, and one of the things I've said, is Drew McIntyre versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. John Cena chasing number 17, going after Drew. Drew beating him with a Claymore kick. Goodbye. So Drew McIntyre would be put over by Brock Lesnar last year, goes into Mania this year, defends the championship against the guy that the WWE Universe looks at as the man, John Cena. One of the most decorated champions this company has ever had. I would take that over anything else that WWE has planned for Drew McIntyre. I would take that over a John Cena versus Bray Wyatt match at WrestleMania. Other than that, I don't see what John Cena really does at WrestleMania. There's nothing else that I would care to see John Cena being a part of. Goldberg. If Goldberg is a lock for WrestleMania, that scares the living shit out of me. If Goldberg is a lock for WrestleMania, in my eyes, that means he's a lock to win the WWE Championship. And if he doesn't win the WWE Championship, he wins the Royal Rumble by entering the Rumble match and going on to WrestleMania and challenging Roman Reigns. If he's a lock for WrestleMania, he's a lock for something big. But I'm holding out hope. There's two things that WWE could do with Bill Goldberg. I don't think they'll happen. Two things that WWE could do with Bill Goldberg that doesn't require him to be a WWE champion or challenge for a championship going into WrestleMania. WWE could absolutely do a rematch of Bray Wyatt and Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania. Stemming from what happened in Saudi Arabia at Super Showdown, they could have Bill Goldberg put over Bray Wyatt. Do I see WWE putting over Bill Goldberg at WrestleMania again? Absolutely. Do I see them aiding in the rehabilitation of Bray Wyatt? I would like to think so. I don't think it's going to happen. That's the way it should be, though. Bill coming back to put over Bray this year because he didn't do it last year. Bray going on to do whatever he's got to do after Bill Goldberg. It makes sense. Bray Wyatt challenging Bill Goldberg to a rematch to do what he did to him at Saudi Arabia makes perfect sense. But I don't see WWE doing that. Why? Because they don't give a fuck about The Fiend, number one. And number two, and probably the most important aspect here, WWE has 3 matches left with Bill Goldberg. 3. They got 1 more year of this fucking guy. This year, Royal Rumble and Drew McIntyre's 1 match. 3 more contracted matches after this. WrestleMania is the 2nd match this year. After WrestleMania, we don't have to talk or see about anything Bill Goldberg related for the rest of the year. But do you think WWE having this guy for 2 more matches next year, you think they're going to make him look weak? Do you know how much money they're paying this guy for him to come in and be a superhero? Do you think Bill Goldberg is coming in for his last 3 matches to put anybody else over? When has Goldberg ever shown you he gives a shit about anybody or anything that this company has? It makes sense for him to wrestle Bray if you want to do that and keep him away from a title. But I don't see that happening. Is he going to be in a championship match? I don't know. If he's not in a championship match, Bray Wyatt's number 1. The other is Randy Orton. WWE could absolutely book Goldberg versus Randy Orton in a WrestleMania mega match. I don't give a fuck about that. Goldberg sucks because you all know he gets winded after 60 seconds? 60 seconds? And I'm being fucking generous in the 60. Randy Orton is a great wrestler, but how many times have you fallen asleep during a Randy Orton match with a good wrestler? Can you imagine Randy Orton against a Bill Goldberg? My God, man. That's WrestleMania worthy to these people. But I'm just throwing ideas out there. Bill Goldberg was supposed to be, I don't know if it was supposed to be, but the promo that he cut on Drew McIntyre saying that McIntyre was disregarding and disrespecting the legends, that was catered to Randy Orton because on that Legends night, Randy Orton was the one disrespecting the legends and not Drew McIntyre. So absolutely, I could see Goldberg versus Randy Orton. And Goldberg was on the bump about a month ago. He mentioned the guys that he'd love to wrestle being Roman, and the other one that he mentioned was Randy Orton. So I could absolutely see WWE giving Goldberg Randy Orton at WrestleMania if he's not included in a major title match at WrestleMania. Now, what does that mean for Randy Orton and Edge? I know that's what you're probably thinking. Randy Orton and Edge. Let me tell you something. If you are a WWE fan, and I mean this wholeheartedly, I love Edge, even though the fuckers got me blocked on social media because I got caught up in a windstorm of things, criticizing his match. God knows who else he fucking blocked. Edge and Randy Orton, it makes sense for Edge to come back and target Randy Orton because Randy Orton put him out for the entire year. It makes sense via that. But if you're a fan going into WrestleMania, do you want to see an entire calendar year of Edge being back in the WWE under this 3-year deal that he signed? And the entire spectrum of his return has been Randy Orton. Some of it's been great. The matches have been The match at WrestleMania last year was completely atrocious. The greatest wrestling match that never was, ever, was good, but it wasn't the greatest wrestling match ever. Do you want to see that match happen again? Do you want to see Edge come back and go at Randy Orton again? Now, if Randy Orton was the WWE champion, that's a different story. Of course, that enhances the overall story. Orton won the title, he put Edge out. Edge coming back to get his revenge, and then on top of that, take the most important thing from Randy Orton, which is the WWE title. That made sense. Him coming back now against Randy Orton doesn't really make sense. They're going to eventually have to tie up loose ends, but why would you immediately want to jump back into that? So if Randy Orton and Goldberg is an idea that they're doing, how likely is it of Edge to come back? If he does come back, it's probably going to be in the Royal Rumble. How likely is it that WWE would have Edge come back in the Rumble and win the Royal Rumble? Has anybody thought of that? No, I wouldn't call for that. I don't have any interest in that at all. Edge winning the Royal Rumble to do what exactly? Go on and challenge Roman? Spear versus spear? Go on and challenge Drew? Could be a good match. Not really all that interested in it. And what does that mean? What does that mean? If Edge goes and wrestles Roman Reigns for the Universal title, he's not beating Roman. So I'm axing that right out of the gate. Not even a fucking idea that they should be thinking of. And if Edge wrestles Drew McIntyre, you're going to have him come back after all this layoff, after all this injury, win the Royal Rumble, and then go into WrestleMania and lose. What does that mean for Drew McIntyre? You gave him the title to have him lose the title to Edge? And what does Edge do with the title? Has another go with Randy Orton for the title, beats Randy Orton, gets the big victory, goes up 2-1, they never speak to each other or look at each other in the ring ever again? Then we're looking at Edge as the WWE champion on Monday Night Raw. Another part-timer. Who do we do with Edge in that WWE title situation? I could see AJ Styles coming on in and challenging Edge and taking the WWE title off of him. I could absolutely see that. AJ Styles has been in the middle of nothing. I think he's just waiting for his time. I don't know if AJ wants to be WWE champion again, but I could absolutely see that being a situation where WWE needs opponents for Edge. No better opponent than AJ Styles. Or maybe do something along the lines of Edge versus Adam Cole. And then maybe we get AJ Styles and Adam Cole on Monday Night Raw to challenge for the WWE title. Adam Cole and Drew McIntyre, Adam Cole and Keith Lee, Adam Cole and Matt Riddle. There's a lot of guys there that you could have a lot of fun with by putting Adam Cole in that situation. But Edge winning the Royal Rumble should not be a situation that, goes out over everybody's head. It is absolutely a possibility. And who knows with Vince McMahon? You don't know what the fuck this guy's thinking. Daniel Bryan should be the only one winning the Royal Rumble. Should not be Bill Goldberg. Should not be Roman Reigns going into the Royal Rumble and winning that after being Universal Champion. None of these things should be happening. None. If you want to do these 4 major matches, we could realistically be looking at Roman versus Bryan, Goldberg versus Orton, Edge versus McIntyre, and Cena versus Wyatt. Those could be the big matches. I don't know how anything else makes sense. Edge Orton, right? What does Bryan do if Goldberg wins the WWE title? Goldberg versus Roman, Randy versus Edge, Cena versus Wyatt, Drew versus Sheamus? What does this leave Drew? There's a bunch of situations that you could do here. You could do McIntyre, Cena. You can do Orton, Edge, Goldberg, Roman. But where does that leave Bray Wyatt? What does Bray Wyatt do at WrestleMania? It's like a puzzle. And you got to take all the pieces and make them fit and align perfectly. I don't know if there's ever going to be a puzzle like this that's going to really resonate with the fans as being a perfect puzzle. All I see. And then Triple H. Triple H is another. Well, we don't know if he's training. We don't know if he's ready to wrestle. AJ Styles has been lobbying for a match against Triple H. They could absolutely add that to the show. There are a ton of options that WWE could go with. And I'm telling you right now, none of them are exciting whatsoever. Daniel Bryan, I'm telling you, man, you got to start at the top. Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns is exactly what you need to do. Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns is where you got to start. Everything else, you just fill in the pieces. Goldberg, what does Goldberg do? If Goldberg, listen, if we got to live in a world where Goldberg's going to be at WrestleMania, let's try and do this logically, okay? If Roman and Bryan is one of the matches, which it should be for the Universal title, where do we fit Goldberg in? Do we do Goldberg Wyatt? I would rather Wyatt get his win over Bill Goldberg. If we have to look at Randy Orton and Edge again, I'd rather them get it out of the way now. Now. So that they don't have anything to do with each other. And then John Cena, if you're going to take the WWE champion in Drew McIntyre and have him go into the WrestleMania show as champion, John Cena versus Drew McIntyre chasing number 17 is the best way to go about it. This way you get Roman and Bryan at the top, Goldberg's not in the title picture, and John Cena chases number 17. These are things that are simple and should not be that difficult to figure out here. Now, if they want Goldberg in the title situation, it fucks everything up. Where does that leave Bryan? Where does that leave Bray Wyatt? I don't know. You want 4 major WrestleMania matches right now. And I'm not booking this like some fantasy fucking geek, okay? This is what's being given to us. If we have to live with the fact that John Cena and Bill Goldberg are locks for WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. Bryan wins the Rumble. Okay? That's the top. Goldberg. No titles for Goldberg. I don't give a fuck what he thinks he is. Superhero. Give me a break. It's about time you pay it forward. And you put Bray Wyatt over. What we do with Bray Wyatt after this, I don't give a shit. I really don't. Goldberg and Wyatt. Bryan Reigns. If we gotta get Orton and Edge again, so be it. So be it. And then we get Cena chasing 17 against Drew McIntyre. That's the WrestleMania we're looking at, folks. I don't know what else possibly makes sense. I don't know what else Vince McMahon could possibly be thinking about. I don't. If you guys have any idea on how to fix that and make it make more sense, you let me know. You reach out to me on Twitter and tell me what you would do. But I mean, anything else outside that, I gotta be honest with you guys, I don't think makes much sense at all. Once again, guys, I want to thank Dr. Squatch for sponsoring the podcast today. drsquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off. The cold brew cleanse is what I recommend. Absolutely fantastic, man. I always say, I joke around, I don't know whether to bathe in it or eat it. It smells great. Now, I've tried their soaps. That's my favorite. I've tried their shampoos. I use it every time I need to during the week. I've yet to try their toothpaste, though I hear it's very good. And all of their stuff is organic, man. Seriously. You want to look your best? Dr. Squatch. You want to feel your best? Dr. Squatch. You want to smell your best? Dr. Squatch. You want to listen to the best? OTS. It's very simple. It's a very simple formula here, folks. It's not that difficult to figure out. drsquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off. That's 20% off. Use code SCRIPT at checkout. Aleister Black. Where is he? I have no idea. Probably home with his wife, twitching, streaming video games. I don't know where he is. I was on Twitch earlier this week, and I've been doing these watch-alongs to get everybody like excited for the streams, because I usually stream Call of Duty, and then it goes from being, oh my God, so excited to nothing but negativity because Black Ops Cold War sucks. But I've been doing these watch-alongs, these match-alongs is what I'm calling them. And one of the match-alongs that I did this week was NXT TakeOver New York with Aleister Black, Ricochet versus the War Raiders. Remember those guys, right? Hanson and Rowe? Yeah. You might have forgotten. WWE changed their names about 3 times, buried them on their way up, as usual, with an NXT talent. All I said during the stream was, how could you possibly fuck him up? You can say the same thing about Ricochet. How do you fuck these guys up? This guy got brought up to the main roster, right? He got brought up to the main roster with so much promise. This guy had future fucking star written all over him. Main roster fucking potential as a champion, face of the company type of guy. He's got everything from the look to the music to the entrance to the ambiance to the in-ring promos. How do you fuck him up? How do you fuck him up? It's got to be nearly impossible. You must really suck at your job if you fuck someone like that up. Same thing with Ricochet. This guy made his main roster debut, still teaming with Ricochet out of the Dusty Classic, in which they lost because they didn't win the tag team titles. They did nothing with them as a tag team. I don't even know why they brought them up as a tag team. They only continued to pair them together because they had no plans for them. This guy then sat in a closet and waited for Cesaro to come and challenge him. Had a couple of decent matches with Cesaro, then back in the closet you go, sniffing ammonia and wishing he was anywhere but with Mr. Clean. And then this guy gets placed in a Seth Rollins feud, battling Seth Rollins alongside Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens and Rey Mysterio. Why? I don't know. Then they turned him heel. They gave him an eye patch. They turned him into fucking Long John Silver, selling frozen fish patties. They turned this guy into legitimately Jack Sparrow. Matey, they gave me an eye patch, and now I'm Captain Black. I don't know whether this guy was looking for buried treasure or he was mimicking a pro wrestler. I don't know. I really don't know. This guy got stranded on a fucking island somewhere looking for buried treasure. We've never seen him since. This guy that I don't understand. I don't understand how you take this guy, and this is what his main roster run has resulted in. Pirate-esque fucking appearance, no entrance, no theme. They stripped him of everything that was great in NXT. They fucking castrated this guy to then have him go into the draft, get drafted to SmackDown. By the way, Titus O'Neil and Dana Brooke got drafted above Aleister Black. If that doesn't spell burial, I don't know what does. I don't know what does to you. Guy got placed on Raw Underground with Kevin Owens. He lost this feud to Kevin Owens. Hasn't been seen ever since. Goodbye. Now Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, is claiming that the reason that they took Aleister Black off the television is because they're bringing him back to television, and they've had this big dramatic debut planned for him since day one. Sure. Sure they have. Big dramatic debut. Let's fire the fucking cannons and raise the fucking flags and take our fucking bayonets and go raid some fucking village, killing the women and children. Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious? Big dramatic debut. Where? With WWE? I don't think so. Where was this big dramatic debut 3 years ago? Why hasn't it been done then? This guy should have already been given a big dramatic debut. Now we're worried about a big dramatic debut 3 years later. Mike Johnson's reporting that they pulled him off TV so that he could have a big dramatic debut on SmackDown. It's not clear why this has not happened yet. Oh, I could tell you why. And it's possible that management chose to wait a little bit longer for the dust to settle on his wife's release. PW Insider is noting, and I quote, Mike Johnson says, I was told he was purposely pulled from television so he can come back and have a big dramatic debut for SmackDown, and that just hasn't happened yet. My feeling is that maybe the stuff with his wife Zelina might have led them to say, hey, let's wait a bit. Let's see if the waters kind of calm down. End quote. This guy got drafted to Monday Night Raw, placed under Paul Heyman's watch. Paul Heyman got fired. And then all we heard was snickering from management, which in the end ended up being Bruce anyway. Bruce was laughing and snickering. Oh, ha, 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 ha. Paul Heyman wanted to push the SmackDown catering crew on Monday Night Raw as its top guys. Andrade, Garza, Humberto, Apollo, Aleister Black, guys like that. Buddy Murphy. Those were going to be his big six on Monday Night Raw. The future. Like any normal human being would be doing in that situation, building for the future. Bruce claimed that they were SmackDown catering. So Paul Heyman was fired. Everything that Paul Heyman wanted to do was fired along with him. Bruce buried everybody else. Just because he got his rocks off by burying Paul Heyman and everything that Paul Heyman wanted to do. Throwing his power around, showing that Paul can't hack it as executive director. Neither can Bruce. But Black was ruined ever since Paul Heyman got fired. And people knew that was going to happen. But for the simple fact that this guy was pulled from television with the sole purpose of giving him a big dramatic debut, I call absolute fucking 100% grade A, farm fresh bullshit. Bullshit. Give me a break. It's interesting to see that there are plans for him now since Paul Heyman, who had ideas to push him as a top star on Raw a year ago, now there's plans for him. This push stalled when Heyman was removed as executive director, like I said. Folks, the reason why Black is off television is because they're punishing him because of Zelina. You might not like to hear that. You'll have some geek in the company telling me, oh, no, that's not true. It is absolute. This is WWE we're talking about, folks. This is the pettiness of WWE. Give me a break. Black will never see television again in the way that we want him to be on television. This guy's a jobber. The better question is, why would this guy want to be back with them? 3 years of your life wasted doing what? Your value is nothing now thanks to these fucking people. Now you're going to go back on television and claim that, hey, man, I'm pro WWE. Give me a fucking break. They fired your wife wrongfully, and then you want to go back on television and do what they ask you to do? Fuck that. This guy can make his name and his money elsewhere. He doesn't need WWE. Then he asked for a move back down to NXT. They didn't do that for him. But they want to make a big dramatic debut for him on SmackDown. Give me a break. Not on TV because they're punishing him for his wife's actions. And they didn't move him back down to NXT because that is punishment in itself. Not going back down to NXT. Staying in your fucking closet until we call you to go out there on SmackDown. Because moving him back down to NXT would have raised his stock. They'd be promoting him. The main roster would have been deemed as a failure. Vince can't look like a failure. Bruce can't look like a failure. They're going to give NXT and Triple H somebody that they know he's going to push beyond belief to the moon. Triple H does that. People are going to be wondering, well, why is he doing that, but the main roster couldn't do it? Why does Triple H get it, but Bruce and Vince can't get it? The vicious circle goes round and round, folks. Black is punished. Black will never return in the way that we want him to return. It's over. He's seen his best days, which is sad. Because this guy had WrestleMania main event written all over. This guy right now realistically should be challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. But we can't even talk about that. Ever. This guy's been buried beyond repair. It's sad. I don't believe that story whatsoever. Friday Night SmackDown. Ratings are still over 2 million. Second straight week. Show did 2.153 million viewers, which was up from the previous week of 2.003. First hour today, 2.2. Second hour today, 2.1. The week previous, the show did 2.036 in hour one, and hour two today, 1.969. Pulled an average of 0.6 in the 18 to 49 demographic, which was number 2 for the night. That is up from the 0.5 rating the show did in the 18 to 49 demographic a week prior. SmackDown was in the middle of the pack as far as viewership goes for the week. It was behind 2020, Magnum PI, Blue Blood, Shark Tank, all the usual shit on network television. Baron Corbin beat Rey Mysterio. Baron Corbin beat Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio and Dominic got into a little back and forth on SmackDown. Dominic wondered why Rey can't take on Baron Corbin and teach this guy a lesson. Rey Mysterio says, I got the right guy for the job. And if you were paying attention to commentary on Friday, we had Mr. Graves say, I think Mysterio is either going to need a priest or a doctor to take on Baron Corbin. With the key word there being priest. We all knew Damian Priest was set for a main roster demotion. They wanted to pair him with Kevin Owens and have him be his best friend and battle the bloodline with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. That didn't make any sense. Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns backed that up with not making sense, so they axed that storyline. That goes to show you that WWE creative knows nothing, but here I am waiting for a fucking massive dramatic debut for Aleister Black. Sure thing. A priest or a doctor. So it looks like we may be getting Damian Priest battling Baron Corbin. It's like looking into a fucking mirror. Damian Priest is Baron Corbin when Baron Corbin was in NXT. Pretty much. I don't have any high hopes for Priest on the main roster. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated main event Jey Uso. Roman Reigns and Adam Pearce had a Royal Rumble contract signing that ended up being Adam Pearce giving up his spot to Kevin Owens, which we all knew was going to be the case anyway. Natalya defeated Liv Morgan when Billie Kay got involved. Great. Apollo Crews defeated Sami Zayn. And it looks like Apollo could be joining Roman. We don't know yet. But I had news on that last night on SmackDown, so make sure you guys go and check out that review after the show was over last night. Apollo seems to be having heel tendencies. And Cesaro defeated Daniel Bryan in a great TV match, probably the best TV match of the week. More of that, please. With a side serving of Daniel Bryan winning the Royal Rumble. Excellent match. AEW Dynamite total viewership increases against the U.S. presidential inauguration coverage. NXT was also up. AEW took the win, again, as usual. It was AEW that was winning this week, and the numbers are in. 854,000 for Dynamite, and NXT drew 659,000. Last week, AEW drew 762,000, while NXT did a measly 551,000 viewers. The 18 to 49 demo is the only one that matters. 0.36, and NXT did a 0.15. So NXT was beaten badly, as always, in the demos. The top 150 was not released for cable when the ratings were released on Thursday afternoon, so we don't know. We don't know where these shows charted in the cable top 150. Dynamite was not good on Wednesday night. I talked about this with Jesse on Wednesday's podcast. I don't think anybody's Dynamite review did good at all. It was just a boring show. It really was. It wasn't a bad show, but it was a bad show by AEW standards, and we expect much, much more. Cody Rhodes defeated Pretty Peter Avalon. Penelope Ford defeated Layla Hirsch. Matt Hardy and Private Party defeated Matt Sydal and Top Flight. Dark Order, Colt Cabana, Silver, Page, and Reynolds defeated TH2, The Hybrid 2, Dr. Luther, and Serpentico. And Jon Moxley defeated Nick Comoroto. That was your Dynamite show. Not really all that entertaining, but I will say that Jon Moxley and Nick Comoroto, man, Nick Comorato's got something. He does. And I mentioned this on Wednesday. I don't know why Moxley didn't destroy Peter Avalon and Cody Rhodes put over Nick Comoroto on Dynamite. Doesn't make sense to me. Nothing on that show stood out. The main event was sloppy with the Inner Circle. Just not a good show by Dynamite standards, folks. I don't need these AEW shills coming at me saying, oh, you don't know nothing, man. Listen, I know enough. I know a good show when I see one, and Dynamite was not a good show. In fact, NXT was a better show. NXT was a better show. NXT, we had Leon Ruff and Kushida defeating Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first round. Not surprised by that at all. Looks like We're getting Kushida and Gargano somewhere for the North American title, possibly at TakeOver on Valentine's Day. Kushida got his win here, but I don't think he's taking that North American title. Johnny Gargano is too good at what he's doing right now, and there's no reason for them to give him back the title, only to take it off of him again. They ended the curse, let him have a decent reign. Karrion Kross defeated Ashanti Adonis. Don't know where they're going with Kross. I'm assuming he's going to be aiming for Balor sooner rather than later, but let's get it over with already, please. Just wasting time here, him in these squash matches. Just give him the fucking title. Lucha House Party defeated Imperium. Let me reiterate that. The Lucha House Party Jobbers on Monday Night Raw defeated one of the best tag teams in the company. Good job there, Mr. Dog, D-O-double-G. Oh, you didn't know? Clearly, he don't know how to book fucking tag team matches either. They defeated Imperium first round match. Women's Dusty Classic got underway. Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter defeated Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. Thanks to Io Shirai. She was the big difference maker here. Pulled Martinez off the apron. Got some payback against what had happened to her a couple weeks ago. Storm was left by herself. Catanzaro hit a twisting senton off the top rope that looked good in execution, but the landing was fucking god-awful. And we got Casey and Kaden Carter winning and advancing to the second round. I got news on them in a bit. Don't know about them advancing, but I guess we could look at them as being the Cinderella team of this tournament. Bronson Reed defeated Tyler Rust. I love me some big man Bronson Reed. He is awesome. Excellent look. Legit. Bronson Reed is great. Timothy Thatcher defeated Tommaso Ciampa in a fight pit match. Brutal stuff here. This ended with them actually ending up as a tag team. And I don't know who got taken out of the tournament. I believe it was one of the 205 Live teams that was there. And William Regal, after this match, they had some sign of respect towards each other at the end of the match. We got Thatcher and Ciampa being given an opportunity now as a tag team in the Dusty Tag Team Classic. Are we looking at the winners of the Dusty Tag Team Classic? I don't know. Thatcher's got nothing going on for himself. Tommaso Ciampa, way too good to be doing what he's doing now. They could be the winners of the Dusty Cup. And it would go in line with random pairings winning the goddamn cup. Seriously. It would make sense. I don't think a legitimate tag team has won this thing. Honestly. So that's that. That's NXT. Better show than Dynamite. Not really good by NXT standards, but still much more entertaining than Dynamite on Wednesday night. We got some major AEW news here, man. Sting. This took me by surprise because I was actually live streaming on Twitch when this news broke, and I didn't think this news was actually going to be announced until later on in the AEW Revolution build. But Dynamite saw Sting and Darby Allin get face-to-face, and Sting wanted to congratulate Darby Allin on the TNT Championship victory over Brian Cage. Allin was then in the ring on Wednesday and seemingly accepted a tag team match in a street fight against Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. Now, I didn't know then it was him accepting, but we're getting this tag team match with him and Sting teaming up against Darby Allin and against Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. So this is the tag team match that's happening at Revolution. Now, they moved Revolution from February 27th to the following week. I don't know why yet. I don't have any reason as to why they are moving that particular show a week later. Could be that there's another show happening that week and they didn't want to have a conflict of interest there. Maybe they wanted one night completely to themselves. Maybe it's weather related. I don't know yet. I don't really know yet. But this match is happening where Sting and Darby teaming up against Starks and Cage. It was further noted in The Observer that Sting's match will surely be a cinematic match. This will give AEW time to film the match, put it together in post. thus greatly reducing any risk that something bad will happen to Sting. So that's it. Cinematic match. They have to be careful with Sting. And he's just shy of 62 years old. Bad neck, spinal stenosis. Cinematic match would be a great way to protect him. And I gotta say again, this is not the same thing as him and Goldberg. If you're complaining about Goldberg, why aren't you complaining about Sting? Because Sting is not coming in to take championships. He's there to put over talent. Give me a break. So that's that. I'll keep you guys updated on Wednesday nights on the post show for Dynamite on what's happening with Revolution and why it was moved a week later. Hopefully some news on that will break this week. NXT news. If you guys watched NXT, we got Priscilla Kelly signing with the WWE. This is actually Darby Allin's ex-wife. They got divorced late last year. WWE announced some new notable Performance Center recruits on social media, and they actually have name changes to go along with their signings. NXT is proud to announce the signings of Zoe Stark. This is formerly known as Lacey Ryan. Gigi Dolan, that's Priscilla Kelly's new name in WWE, and Cora Jade, who is Elena Black. Outside of Priscilla Kelly, I have no idea who these other two women are. Fightful Select reports that they learned WWE was interested in all three talents all the way back at the start of November. I am sure because of their AEW matches. I think all three of these women actually had AEW Dark matches, if I'm not mistaken. And if they weren't on Dark, they were at least being pursued by AEW. It was said that Black and Ryan were almost guaranteed to get signed after their tryouts, and there had been interest in Kelly for quite some time. These three competitors, along with Anthony Henry from Evolve, will be joining the current class at the Performance Center. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer went into detail about these new recruits, noting that Priscilla Kelly had an impressive showing on AEW, which is why she was signed. Meltzer explained that she was never offered a full-time contract for All Elite Wrestling. Elena Black also competed in an AEW ring, with Meltzer knowing that she had competed on a few episodes of Dark, so I was right anyway. Meltzer also explained that Lacey Ryan made her name on Impact and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So that's the name I'm probably less familiar with than all the others. And this is the full quote from Meltzer. They are all new signees along with Anthony Henry. They're all starting with the current class. Priscilla Kelly and Elena Black had both worked for AEW on Dark. Kelly was on the boat, Jericho Cruise, and had a TV match that did a really good quarter. I think it was against Britt Baker. She had a bunch of matches on the boat. She probably did have a match with Britt, but I forgot the TV match. But I just remember that she had a TV match that did a really good quarter, and she was there for a while, and this was when she was with Darby. And they've split up since. She never got an AEW offer. She looked good, all things considered. Elena Black has been on Dark a couple of times, but obviously did not get a contract deal. And then Lacey Ryan has been on Impact and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Las Vegas, Future Stars of Wrestling from there, so on and so forth. So they're the new people being brought in with their new names. End quote. So I don't know why Priscilla Kelly was not offered a or AEW contract, rather. I'm assuming that they didn't want a conflict of interest with Darby, because they're pushing Darby to the moon, and they don't want anything to kind of infiltrate that process. So, according to her, they're still best friends, so he probably gave her his blessing to go to NXT. She would have fit like a glove in AEW, but, you know, as long as they're doing their thing and making money and getting TV time and building their stock, it's all good. But it goes to show you that Dark, and I said this on Wednesday night, Dark is the most important show in the industry because AEW, whether they like to admit it or not, they are a breeding ground for NXT because NXT bought out Evolve. They don't have all these other UK promotions to go and scout. Dark is their scouting option. So whoever they see on Dark that's not being offered AEW contracts, WWE is going to scoop them up, and that's exactly what happened here. And whoever they didn't take from Evolve sitting around is inevitably going to end up with NXT anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Hopefully they have good things planned for all three women. The most powerful and the most stacked women's roster in all of the world is getting a little bit stronger. Mercedes Martinez explains why she's no longer a part of Retribution. This was interesting. Remember when I gave you the reason as to why I think she didn't want to stay on the main roster? It's exactly the reason it was. She did an interview with PW Insider to discuss a wide range of topics, including why she's no longer a part of the group. She says, and I quote, "I was given an opportunity. I took the opportunity not knowing what the outcome would be. You got to make the best with what you can. But I think when that opportunity came, it just wasn't for me. When you hit the pinnacle of your career, as I did, hitting 20 years, you want to make the most out of your career and make it a part of your legacy. I just think being a part of that group, it's not hidden fact that it was for me. I don't hide that fact. I don't mention it only because it was a small part of what the bigger picture is. It's kind of one of those things where this is where Mercedes is, but maybe it doesn't fit the mold, doesn't fit her career. It was no hard feelings. I just think we both had two different plans. I wanted one thing to go one way. They had a different outlook. I wish them success. To all those part of that group, I wish them the best." End quote. Exactly why and what I mentioned and why she wasn't a part of that group and why she didn't want to be a part of that group moving forward. 20 years in this industry, and you want to take her, strip her of the name that she's built upon for 20 years, hide her face in a mask, and put her in a failing group that is already buried and will never recover on WWE TV. That's what you want her culmination to be? That's what you want her swan song to be? She checked this off as a bucket list thing to do. And that's what you want to do. Sounds like somebody was out there to sabotage everything that she worked hard for. I'm glad she made that decision and actually spoke up about it, and now she's back where she belongs. And I hope she stays here for the duration of her career. Because they're not going to treat her the way Triple H is going to treat her on the main roster. Guarantee it. WWE had plans to turn a popular NXT star into a heel. Bryan Alvarez noted that someone in WWE told him on Wednesday that Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter advanced in the Dusty Classic and that this was going to be the start of the heel turn for Casey Catanzaro. Alvarez says, and I quote, "I was told that last night, after Casey and Caden got their upset win in the Dusty Classic and Casey did the full swanton to win, I was told that she was supposed to be the beginning of this new heel turn, and this is going to be both Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter's heel turn moving forward." End quote. Alvarez made the point that he only heard this from one person, and it's possible that plans will change and the heel turn will not happen. Alvarez pointed out that Casey is so likable as a babyface that a heel turn would not be a good fit for her, at least right now. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I really don't. EO came in and helped the babyfaces win that match. Whether they win this tournament and then turn full heel remains to be seen. I don't know. I'm not even going with them to win. I'm going with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez to win the entire thing because that's just the way it should be. That's the way it really should be. I don't think turning Casey into a heel is the right way to go about it. I could see Caden as a heel, but not Casey. I could see Caden turning on Casey. They don't need to be a tag team. So we'll see what happens with that, but I think Casey's kind of hit her ceiling in NXT. I think she's hit her ceiling in WWE. I just cannot imagine her being pushed on the main roster. I can't. She doesn't really do anything outside of what she does and what we know she can do anyway. And if she does turn heel, and they do have plans for her to turn heel, that would be more planning for Casey than WWE has had for Ricochet in 3 years on the main roster. Which I'm not surprised by at all. WWE Raw. Their ratings, Showbuzz Daily. We had the episode draw 1.854 million viewers on the USA Network. This is up from the 1.819 million viewers the show did a week prior. The reason why Raw was expected to get an increase in viewership is due to WWE getting closer to the Royal Rumble, and more importantly, there's no more Monday Night Football, and there's no college football on ESPN. But I will say this, for all the people claiming, it's up. It's up. What's up? What's up? It's Royal Rumble season. You can't get above it too? That's not an up to me, bro. That's a major failure, if you ask me. Hour 1 did 1.991. Hour 2 did 1.875. And Hour 3 did 1.697. 18 to 49 demo saw 0.64, 0.61, and 0.56. That was the demo breakdown in the 18 to 49. And if you're asking me to go over the results of Monday Night Raw, I am actually skipping it because the show sucks. I will not be sitting here going over what I can't stand on a Monday night. I'm skipping it this week. You want the results? Go look on Google. You'll find them on there. Jason Jordan. Last two stories here. Jason Jordan working towards an in-ring return to WWE. Jason Jordan's in-ring career was cut short when he suffered a neck injury. He's been working as a producer since then. But he's also not given up hope on an in-ring return to WWE. During his appearance on The Bump, Chad Gable mentioned his former American Alpha Tag Team partner and said that a reunion is always a possibility because Jordan is working towards making his way back to the ring. Gable says, and I quote, "It's unfortunate what happened to him with his injury, but you never say never. He's working on it, trying to get back, and who knows, a reunion is always something that I would never be against." Why would you want a reunion of American Alpha when tag team wrestling is looked down upon in WWE? They should have never broken them up to begin with. WWE looked at them as a vanilla tag team. They felt like every other tag team they had is better broken away from each other, which clearly is always the wrong idea. I don't remember anybody being paired together and broken away and they were better off for it. I think the only time we ever got anybody to go on and do something was when Shawn Michaels was broken away from Marty Jannetty. And the Rockers disbanded. Obviously, you know what happened to Shawn Michaels. Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart's another one. None of these tag teams go on to do anything. But instead of breaking up tag teams, you could have kept these tag teams together. They hold more value that way, and you would have a great tag team division if you did exactly what I've been claiming for the last 5 fucking years, and that is merge the divisions, Bruce. A very simple concept that should not take a lot of brain power to formulate a decision. We know how good the tag team division could be. WWE has taken no steps in getting there. So seeing Jason Jordan back with Chad Gable will do what exactly? Color me unexcited. Now, if they move back down to NXT, that's a different story. Then I'll be all for that. But on Raw and SmackDown, give me a break, folks. We know how that ends. They'll just end up breaking them up again. Finally, Nikki Cross. Did she shoot on her WWE booking? Now, if you follow her on social media, it may come across that she's unhappy with her current spot in WWE. She then vowed to make 2020 better, but she's still waiting on that to happen. We haven't seen her on TV since Alexa Bliss gave her sister Abigail. So they used her and dumped her just like everybody else. Cross has been non-existent in recent weeks. She wondered what her legacy in WWE would end up being, and she expressed a desire to follow her happiness. So she tweets out, and I quote, "Honestly, I wouldn't even try and talk to me today because you're not going to get that big smile of mine that you always get. Because I'm angry and annoyed. So am I, honey. So am I. And I don't want to talk about New Year's resolutions or finding my happy place. The Royal Rumble is right around the corner, and I have zero momentum going into it. I have no momentum to even win it, so I'm absolutely fuming, and the only thing that's stopping me from getting even more angry is focusing on this ring and being the best I can be in this ring." Does WWE have plans for Nikki Cross? Is this her shooting? Is this WWE remembering she exists and maybe they are planning to bring her back to television in a different angle? Could be a mixture of both. Is that woman unhappy about being abandoned? Absolutely. Does that come across in this tweet? Absolutely. Does WWE have plans? Maybe. We don't know. I know Nikki Cross is a valuable asset to that women's division on SmackDown. Why she wasn't used, I have no idea. Or Raw, rather. She's on Raw. I don't know where these women are. Raw. Look at that division and tell me Nikki Cross couldn't make that division better. But even her, they stripped her away of everything that made her cool. Pairing her with Alexa Bliss did not make her cool. They stripped everything from Nikki Cross so that she is mini Alexa Bliss. And we didn't need at that time 2 Alexa Blisses on the roster. Nikki Cross, that was presented in NXT, that was a psychopath and nearly killed Asuka and broke Asuka's winning streak. That's the Nikki Cross I want. Whatever this version is, I hope she never returns again. We need psychopath Nikki. I get why they changed it though, because that's not a marketable gimmick. It's not a casual gimmick, but WWE, like always, ruins everything that's good and original and genuine and makes it uncool, unoriginal, and disingenuous. Hopefully she finds her spot again on WWE TV. She's another one that's too good to be left off of TV. Guys, I'm getting out of here. That is this week's show. If you enjoyed the podcast, let me know down below with a comment. Let me know what you think of the WrestleMania situation. Let me know what you think of the Aleister Black situation. Fuck Monday Night Raw. Fuck Bill Goldberg. You guys know the deal. But if you guys enjoyed this, hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Follow me on Twitter at JD from NY206. That is Twitter and Instagram. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. Bonfire.com. Get your t-shirts. Mouthmasker.com/OTS. We got DrSquatch.com. Use code SCRIPT at checkout for 20% off. And if you missed all the other videos that I've done this week, links are down below in the description of this very video. Guys, thank you so very much. We are 1 week away from the Royal Rumble. Big week coming up. Stick with me. I got you covered all week long. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you right back here for a brand new week of WWE content leading into the Royal Rumble on Sunday night. See you guys later.